Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Hypervega, WLG, and this is the first podcast that we actually finally decided to stop procrastinating and put together.
Yeah, right.
We got the group here. Go ahead if you want to make your own introductions.
I'll do my own introduction. I'm Moonlight Devil 24.
This is Dude It's VD.
Dude, it's VD.
And it's Viciously Vicious.
Yeah, and we're sitting around our mics, and you have to bear with us because we're actually going through a little list of things that we're probably going to check off, and really we shouldn't be checking them off. We should just tear them off, I think, and then burn them.
I think it's shreds.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
We burn them as we go.
We'll burn them as we go?
Right.
All
Hopefully
right,
we don't
so
catch this.
Who's in charge of the lighter?
I think you will be.
I will be.
Hyper.
Okay, I think I can do that. All right. So I guess one of the first things that we're going to cover with you guys tonight is IGE. Most people that we've been talking to in the area, they know it as Gamers Theater. We went ahead and decided just to reboot the whole thing and rebuild it from the ground up. We decided to go with a more broad approach. We want to cover a lot more at the event than initially was planned. The original event was planned back for May 5th. Well, back, it hasn't happened yet, but planned for May 5th. It was planned back in the day for May 5th. And, we decided that we just wanted to go ahead and move it a little later into the year, give us more time to put something together. We didn't want to put together something half-beeped. Yeah, I just beeped myself. I just censored myself. But we didn't want to put together something that wasn't basically going to be 100%. And pretty much that's what we've been trying to do in the past with our past events, is put together something that's 110% for you guys. Something that you guys can come out and enjoy and just, take an experience away with you. So
now it's September, of course, 29th. We'll be at the Village Park in Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is a pretty big, really big thing for us, especially with working with the town itself.
So we've got Stop Game involved. Kannapolis Parks and Rec, YMCA, 40-foot screen, After Dark, games that are going to be played on the actual 40-foot screen. And I know I should have saved that to the end, but I just thought that was something really cool. That's what I'm going to say.
That's one of the things that people are looking forward to.
The 40-foot screen, that's what I'm really excited about. Because, first of all, in our area, there hasn't been anything done like this before, and I think this is going to help immensely the gaming crowd, and I think the gaming crowd would appreciate this, is to be on this scale and this big of a thing going on. And
I think some of us talking outside of our group, we're already hearing that people are kind of hearing about this sort of thing.
Right.
So that's another little positive on our end, the fact that people are ready to actually support the event, as far as to be there and participate or just see it. I mean, like we've said, as far as it's going to be like a mini Woodstock for video gaming,
That's pretty much our goal, and, we want everybody to take away that experience. We want everybody to come out. We want everybody to see the hard work that a lot of people are putting in, not just us, but everyone else who's going to be involved as far as Stop Game, as far as Kannapolis Parks and Rec, the Y, and stuff like that. So we got a lot of games right now on the table that we're going to throw out to you guys, that we're going to have playable. Some for tournament play, as far as Street Fighter 4 AE, we're going to have Madden playable. We're going to have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. We're going to have some games that are just there for casual, We're going to have a bunch of different Kinect games there. We're looking at Dance Central for Kinect. We're looking at Mario Kart's going to be there on Wii. We're going to have Smash Brothers Brawl. We're going to have a Retro Corner featuring, throwback games where you can do speed runs. We're looking at Pac-Man. We're looking at Super Mario Brothers. Just a bunch of different games, different genres, different generations of gaming that we want to just go ahead and incorporate into itself. You want to go ahead?
Of course, this is not like the final list, but we're letting you know what we really kind of want to do. And I'm sure that it won't be a problem getting those games in. But we just want to let you know also as a disclaimer that this will not be like the final list right now until we get a little closer to the event, until we iron out things a little bit more.
Due to new releases that will come up between now and September 29th. We're going to have some games updated to roster.
We definitely know certain games that we can't do, and we're sorry, guys, that we can't do it. But I think, obviously, Mortal Kombat's out, because this is an all-ages event. By the way, all ages. And I know a lot of people have been asking me about it, particularly as far as Call of Duty. That's a little too much on our end too, so we're sorry about that. But we will.
In the future, we'll have other events
other
that feature
tournaments
this game.
with that game.
But just to say, we're compromising to the extent where we want this to be an all ages event, and we want everybody to come out. We're gonna have cosplay there too. So if you want to dress up like somebody from Call of Duty, even though you can't play the game, just go ahead and grab your fatigues and head on out. Because I don't mind seeing combat boots stomping the grass out there.
Did you mention that we're gonna have like like Madden, stuff like that. Did you mention that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I threw it in there. I don't, like I said, we're not going to go too much into the games right now because, again, we're going to have a final listing of games closer to the event, and over the course of the next few months, any new information that we have, as far as the live bands that are going to be there, as far as vendors that are going to be there, we're going to have all that stuff, put together. We got a lot of things in the works right now. Nothing's been finalized, but we have a lot of things in the works and a lot of things on the table that we're going to offer for everyone. So we just want to make sure that before we make announcements as far as what's going to be involved, that we have it solidified in stone. That way we don't have some sort of backup.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so now that we're done rambling about IGE, I think we're going to go ahead and one of the things that we wanted to talk about this week were some of the biggest news stories that have come out over the last week or so in gaming. I think that one of the biggest ones, of course, that's been going on for the last few weeks is the Mass Effect 3 ending.
Such a touchy subject with so many gamers.
Yeah.
Actually, I want you guys to fill me in on this because I'm playing Mass Effect 2 right now, just because it's not really my forte to be playing those type of games. But I'm really digging Mass Effect 2, and I haven't really heard so much about the Mass Effect 3. But
well, you see, with Mass Effect, myself being a huge Mass Effect fan, I've played since the first one. I'm a huge fan. I guess you consider me a mark because I guess I'm one of the few that really wasn't too offended or just angry all in all about the ending. I guess I looked at it differently than everyone else did, but a lot of the decisions that you make over the course of the 3 games, accordingly, BioWare had promised was going to determine the outcome of the final game, the 3rd game. You were going to have different endings that were going to take place depending on the choices you made through the game, as far as whether you played Paragon or whether you played Renegade. And I think that at some point, towards the end of the game, what BioWare did was they just took 3 endings and put them together, just switched a few of the characters that were involved in the endings as to who survived, who didn't, and depending on the choices you made in the last 5 minutes of the game, as opposed to over the course. You see, now, speaking personally, I didn't consider the ending to be just that last 10-minute CG you get with the credits rolling. To me, the ending of the game and the ending to the series itself started to take place the moment you landed on Cerberus' station. And I guess we should have went ahead and said spoiler warning. So this is a spoiler alert, guys. If you haven't finished the game and you plan on it, you might want to fast forward about 2 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But, the moment you land on Cerberus' station up until the point when the credits roll, that's the ending for me. Okay? The moment you land on Cerberus' station is the moment you start to... You get that backstory about how Shepard was brought back to life, the reasoning behind it, the, reason why EDI was implemented onto the Normandy, how she decided to turn on Cerberus. Of course, after that, you go to Earth, and a lot more is revealed there, as well as you say goodbyes to crewmates, whether it be the crewmates from the 3rd game or previous crewmates in the game through a holograph. Then after that, of course, is when the big finale goes down. You head charge the Reapers, you go up to the Catalyst, which I'm not going to, mention what the Catalyst was, again, just for saving spoilers, and then after that, of course, you made your final choice, do you do A, B, or C? Depending on your choices, what you get. Honestly, I can see why some people were upset with the recycled endings as far as the CG goes at the end, but as far as just the experience as a whole, I think what people are forgetting at this point is the experience itself. From the time I booted up Mass Effect 1, and dropped 30 hours in the game before even moving on to my first character mission, to the time I finished the game, I was utterly and completely satisfied. And I can't think of anything to complain about other than the fact that in Mass Effect 3 I did not have a Krogan on my team. The fact that I didn't have a Krogan on my crew is the only thing that butthurt me at all. I'm a huge Krogan fan. I loved Rex, I loved Grunt. I thought that the opening scene, or not the opening scene rather, but the first scene when you free Grunt from his pod, his stasis pod in Mass Effect 2 is one of the most intense scenes in gaming. I think that just the way it was implemented, the way he got in your face, the way that you realized that at that moment you had a choice to make whether you were going to actually, have to take the guy out or whatnot. I just thought it was great, and, I don't think that BioWare has failed us at all in general. I think that they might have kind of slacked off due to whatever reason for the ending, but at the same time, considering the fact that they're going to release the DLC that's going to expand the ending for everyone, and it's going to be a free DLC, you don't have to pay for it, contrary to most rumors, I think that that's them listening to that small percentage of fans that were so angry about the way that the series ended, and I think that that's just a really upstanding thing for them to do.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that this happened too back in the day. I'm not entirely sure, but if anything that maybe would have been a similar incident, probably would have been the same way how Final Fantasy VII kind of went down, as far as the one, female character getting killed by Sephiroth.
Still the most shocking moment.
Yeah, it is one of the most shocking moments. But that's the thing.
Me.
That is story. That happens, and that it's an art form, and that's what most have been saying. That look, I didn't really care for Mass Effect 3, ending as well, but it is an art of storytelling, and it was good on its own from what I've been told.
As far as I'm concerned, I think it was the journey getting to the ending as opposed to the ending.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my thing.
Well, that's the thing too. If you treat the Mass Effect 3 and Final Fantasy as games of art, do you think it was right for them to try to redo the ending and give out this special DLC, or do you think it's right that what they had should be what they have?
I think it's now
and
because it's a choice instead of here you need to put this on here. Now it's a choice. You can go with that, or you can go with the ending we originally wrote.
Right. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think, and I'll tell you what, I think that BioWare literally came to a point where they were satisfied with the product that they had put out. They were, happy with the way it ended. They wanted to leave a lot of the story up to the player as to how they determined or how they decoded what happened. They wanted you to put some thought into the ending. And I'm not trying to be offensive, but I guess at this point, maybe it's just a new generation of gamers, or maybe it's just the way that gaming is coming off as an art form in general. Most people were a little upset by that because they're used to things being fleshed out for them. So I think that from an artistic standpoint, from a company who put together such a great product over the last, 5 years, that they did not have to go back and change it. They could have just simply walked away and left it and said, what, if you don't like it, deal with it. But at the same time, I think that the fact that they're going out of their way now and they're taking whatever it is that they had on their calendars, their schedules, and they're postponing it so that they can stop and they can put this together just to appease the fans that were angry. Even if it was just a small percent, it was roughly 2% of the fan base that purchased the game, almost 2 million copies sold worldwide. There was a small percentage of fans that were upset about the ending. I think the fact that they are going back and they are putting this extra work in just to appease that small percentage of fans is a really, really, really good thing. I think that they shouldn't have to do it. They really don't have to. They don't owe it to us to have to do that.
Right.
But the fact that they're doing it in general, I give props to BioWare. They get kudos from it.
I think that's a really generous thing to do, is to go back and appease the crowd, like you were saying. I haven't, like I said, I haven't even played the first one. I played the second one. I'm in the second one. Haven't played the third one, but just the fact that you don't really hear this from other companies, going back and integrating new things for free, just because a certain percentage
Capcom
of people don't like the ending or don't like a certain thing, like the gem system.
Gems.
But,
so I completely agree, and so all right. Another big thing that's been coming out here recently, as far as news goes, is there's been a lot of Halo 4 news. Screenshots have been released here recently, as well as artwork.
And the new
concept art.
The new Game Informer features Halo 4 on the front, and talking about it.
We posted some of the screenshots on the website, WinLossGaming.com. There's our cheap plug for the night. The multiplayer, a lot of hardcore Halo fans are really worried about the multiplayer. They're implementing preloaded weapon loadouts now, or not preloaded rather. I'm sorry, but just you can go ahead and set your loadouts apparently now. Random weapon drops. Vic, this is your thing.
Yeah, they're coming out with random weapon drops. They're still bringing back armor abilities, though armor lock is not in there anymore. Thank God. I've been a big adamant fan of not having armor lock. I thought armor lock was what almost broke Reach. But yeah, they're coming out with customizable loadouts and everything that Hypervega just said. They're also doing random weapon spawn drops, which he just said also. Let's see what else is on there. Let's see.
There's just they're having a lot of different changes in there. A lot of people are saying that they're going mainstream with it, or they're trying to cater to a more mainstream crowd. I think that is the reason I wanted to actually cover this. Not necessarily for the news that's coming out about Halo 4, because let's be honest, it's Halo. It's going to be good. Even with 343 covering it, you still have old Bungie employees who stay behind with 343 to make this game, because these guys love the property. They love the universe that they've created, and they love the characters. I think, honestly, it's the reaction is the reason why that I had brought it up about covering this. I think that you have a lot of hardcore Halo fans who are afraid that 343 is trying to reach a broader audience with the game, as far as adding and implementing more mainstream features.
Aren't they going a little cinematic with it though? Are they putting a voice to Master Chief?
They're also installing Spartan Ops too, which is almost like Call of Duty's Spec Ops, where it's a multiplayer, but you have little mini episodic episodes where you're just doing little missions and stuff.
No, I mean that's pretty much the same as Firefight.
Well, Firefight is just you're in a stadium and hear a bunch of people and you just gotta try to stay alive. Spartan Ops is more like their Spec Ops, where you have like, all right, here's the mission. You have so-and-so time to do this, you and your buddies to go and do this. And they say they're releasing it weekly, like you'll have a different mission every week that you can play, so replayability is going to be high.
Kind of reminds me of Left 4 Dead a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, my opinion on that is how is that a negative thing?
Well, it's not a negative thing.
It's fresh content that's going to be released. It's going to be released for free, from what I understand.
Right. The big reaction is over multiplayer, is the fact that, you know, when in the past Halos, from Halo, the first Halo to Halo 3, you've always been, and on Reach, you've always had a level playing field. Everybody starts out the same, and it's you got to go to the weapons, find the weapons, and take control of the map. Halo is more of a map control and teamwork game, and what they're trying to do is lessen that skill gap. Because you guys know, if you ever played multiplayer, if you go into the MLG room, their playlist, if you're not good or if you don't have a team on you, you're going to get run, and you're going to get run bad. And it's kind of demoralizing. I get why they want to make it more mainstream, but what they're really doing is just lessening the skill gap so that people aren't turned off to it when they play it. And that's the kind of thing that irks me, is that like the whole Halo 1, all the Halos have been, as competitive. It has been tailored to the competitive side, to the the hardcore side of players. And you bring in casual people where they play custom games just to mess around with, and just having fun with their friends. But what made it so good is because they stuck to that competitive side where everything was equal and everything was fair. And now it seems like they're more diverting to making things a little bit more random than it is skill. So it's not as fun as competitive multiplayer. That's why when you go to big tournaments, you don't really hear Reach out as a good multiplayer competitive game because of the bloom, because the armor abilities and the things having to pick up the power-ups and stuff. And it's really turning it off because it's becoming more randomness than it is putting your time in and developing your skill on on your 5 shots, on map control, doing your call-outs and things. And it's kind of nerve-wracking because if you start tailoring to the mainstream, then the competitive side suffers a little bit and you don't have that big of a turnout. Now on the business side, you'll get more sales and you'll attract more people.
I was going to ask you, with that being said, what if at some point in time they're going to implement options? You said custom game rooms and stuff, which any of us who have played Halo multiplayer know all about the custom game rooms. Really most first-person shooters nowadays. Not just Halo, but obviously, I'm thinking 343 at some point is going to implement those options where if you do have custom loadouts, you can negate those and still go back to old school Halo play. So I think that if they keep those options, but yet they still reach a broader audience of players, people purchasing the game and playing the game simply for those changes that were made and implemented in the game. I think that would actually be a positive thing. In my personal opinion, and I'm not a huge Halo guy. I love Halo. I do. Right. I won't lie. I love Halo. I love the universe. I love the allure of Halo. I've played since the first one in the original Xbox, Halo 2, 3 on 360. But my thing is, I'm also not hardcore. I'm not that guy that's going to go into the MLG room and start schooling. I'm the guy that's going to go in the MLG room and then walk away weeping. So with that being said, if I have the option to go in and play with a custom loadout in those those specific rooms, is that necessarily such a bad thing? Because if you're if you're a hardcore player, and I'm not taking shots at hardcore players because obviously I've run into a bunch of them. I've been schooled in the game by a bunch of hardcore players, and I respect their level of skill. But if you're a hardcore player and you now have an option put into the game where you can have this broader audience be introduced to the franchise, they can be introduced to the property, they can get a handle for things through those options with the custom loadouts or with the random drops, they can get a feel for the game, they can implement their skill later on and then join those other hardcore rooms. Does that not mean that it's actually a good thing for the hardcore players to have more competition, to have more players, and to meet more players from around the world?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, but the thing is that what I see it as is if you start messing around with the base player controls or the base base things, you know, like Reach having bloom now instead of a hit scan. They're pretty technical terms. It's just the way you get hit by a bullet. In Reach, it was when you had the bloom, you'd have a certain area where the bullet would travel to, and an area that it would shoot at. Now, when you start tailoring those things to just having more fun and, you know, just randomness, yeah, you'll bring in more people and stuff, but you're also abandoning the people that helped you become what you are. Halo grew so big was because everybody had a fair shot. It was all fair. Now, you can totally customize the game to whatever you want to do, but those base player traits are still going to be there. I think what the hardcore gamers are talking about is like those base player traits, and changing the reticule systems and all those things are not good for competitive play, and those are the things that, you know, those were the backbone and the foundations of Halo. I feel like they're almost abandoning it just to make more money, which doesn't really send a good message to, you know, the people that's been there for 10 years, that's played it for 10 years. I feel that when you abandon those, you can't play it competitively, and you can't grow people that want to play it for competitive
Do you guys
area.
Do you guys feel it's going to turn into a Call of Duty in a sense?
It leans towards that way, because but the idea of that is thinking that it's gonna.
One thing, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to get this out. You know, I've had a couple glasses, so I don't want to be too forgetful. One thing that's always attracted, there's actually two things that have always attracted me to the Halo universe, or the Halo IP in general, is one, the fan base. I always thought that the Halo community was one of the better gaming communities.
Oh, definitely.
I think that you've always got that sense of camaraderie when you play Halo. You jump on, you go into a random room, a random map, whatnot, and, you know, you hook up with a team, and they're there for the same thing. They're there to have fun. Yeah, people are kind of stat heavy at times. You're going to run into that with any game that you play.
Right.
You're going to have guys who are more worried about their kill death. You're going to have guys that are more worried about, you know, running the map, or about, you know, whatever the case is. But at the same time, you've got a community that we just had a malfunction. I guess we're going to run into those in our first podcast. Essentially, you have a community, though, that sticks together, and I think that's something that's always been great. The second thing that's always drawn me to Halo, and I know most people are probably expecting me to say gameplay. It's not. It's the actual universe itself. I love just the story itself. And most people will say, dude, Halo doesn't have a story. You know what? Halo has a really good story. It's got a great story. Waypoint, I think...
Their canon is very good.
Yeah, I think that the Waypoint system, the Halo Waypoint on 360... I think that was one of the more original ideas, probably one of the most original ideas to come out of the last decade of gaming. No, I'm not trying to overhype it, but what I'm saying is the fact that it tracks your stats, the fact that anything that you need to know about Halo is right there at your fingertips, whether it be characters, whether it be, enemies, whether it be, ships, whether it be guns, whether it be videos, whether it be behind the scenes,
and you get heat
dev
maps
blogs
of where you've been killed at, and you work on the strategies.
I think that's great. I think that's something that they've implemented and done very well.
That I like, and this is coming from somebody that doesn't really play Halo that much, is the fact that, going back to the whole community thing, whenever you look up stuff for Halo, it's always somebody teaching you how to dominate the map in some way, or just, it usually has to do with skill. When it comes to like Call of Duty, stuff like that, it's usually like, put these 2 perks on and you'll be invincible kind of thing. And that's why I kind of lean more towards Halo now in the first person shooter genre of things. And I think that's why I asked you guys if you guys were worried that it was going to turn into another Call of Duty with this whole, everything that's coming out for it, for the new one.
Maybe I'm just being biased. I don't think it will, though.
I literally hope it doesn't, just because of the fact that...
Not bashing Call of Duty or Call of Duty players.
Right.
So I do want to go ahead and get that out there now. I'm not bashing Call of Duty, but I just think that in a sense of being competitive, and in the sense of being tactical and skillful, I do think that Halo kind of pushes the envelope a little further than
I think Call of Duty went out there and kind of just said, hey, play this game. You can ADS, aim down scope. That's what that means for the non-savvy. But usually Call of Duty is just about perks and learning the map. If you learn the map, drop points, then you can get a lot of kills.
Yeah, it's more casual.
Yeah, it's more of a casual thing. I do like Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty, but I think the whole thing with the community thing is what kind of lures me into Halo. Personally, the story not so much. I have been seeing the how they're getting Conan O'Brien, Andy Richter is in the new Halo.
Yeah,
they're having voices done in there.
That's hilarious.
Conan's awesome.
Conan is awesome.
Shout out to Conan. We're name dropping.
Team Coco all the way.
But I really do like that. Also, I heard that they were gonna implement voice to Master Chief.
Well, he's had voice in the past.
Oh, so
yeah, but one of the things I think actually that you might be referring to is his face. A lot of Halo fans are curious as to where 343 is going to go with revealing his actual face, because up until this point, Halo has been about Master Chief and his basically the mystery behind Master Chief. There's not much as far as what this guy was before he was Master Chief, as far as what he looks like, how he lived, what he was about. It's basically about him from the point of Halo 1 up until this point, and I think a lot of fans are worried that they're going to ruin that mysterious allure, to sound a little fancy, of Master Chief. And I think you have a lot of fans who are trying to discard that worry and say, you know what, regardless, we want to know this. We want to know what's going on. And 343 hasn't made any mention to it as far as whether or not they're going to, but...
What if he's Commander Shepard?
That
would be pretty cool.
There's your ending, Mass Effect 3 fans. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, my only real thoughts of this whole thing, because I don't really play Halo, does Halo really need any more help as far as getting more players involved? Because that's why I'm with kind of VD on this whole thing. Like, do they really need help?
I guess when you're looking at it from a business standpoint, yeah. Me being in unfortunately, I'll play the devil's advocate. Being in business management, you're always concentrated on raising your numbers. That's it. You have to raise the bottom line. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm saying that's pretty much just the way the business world works nowadays. If you want to stay in business, you want to stay competitive, and you want to stay, you want to hold that spot. Let's be honest. Halo is first-person shooters.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that as a fanboy, but up until Halo came out, you had first-person shooters. You had, GoldenEye 007, for example. Great game. But Counter-Strike, yes. But they never broke that mold. Right. It wasn't until Halo and the Halo franchise came out that first-person shooters, fans of gaming were like, whoa, wait a minute. And then that was it. Halo just carried it. So in my personal opinion, which is, as humble as it gets, you wouldn't have Battlefield 3. You wouldn't have Call of Duty if it was not for Halo. So looking at it from that point, 343 has to come up with ways to make sure that Halo is still going to hold on to that. Regardless of whether it's in numbers or name alone, when you think Halo, you need to think big. And that's what 343 is trying to do.
Of course, I don't have a problem with that as far as business and everything, but I mean, like, VD said, it might hurt the hardcore audience trying to change things around a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
Right. I mean, let's be honest. They changed it around in Reach, and yeah, a lot of the things that were implemented in Reach, you're talking about armor lock.
Right.
That it didn't work out. But in my personal opinion, I love jetpacks. You know why? Because sticky grenades stick just as well, whether you're airborne or on the ground.
But 343 has done a really good job. They've released title updates. Now you can play with no bloom, so then you get that classic Halo 3 effect where if your reticle's red and you hit them, it's a shot. It's a confirmed shot. I like what they're doing. They're fixing the things that didn't work in Reach, and they're trying to make them better. And I appreciate that out of them. And I'm kind of nervous about it, but I'm still really excited to see what they can do with this. And,
gotta have faith.
And
gotta
hopefully
have faith.
It'll work out for the best.
All right. I think we're gonna go ahead and I want to move on and bring up
about Halo all night.
We can literally, yeah. New releases. Last couple weeks, we're gonna go back a couple weeks, and then after this, we'll just go back, in a short term. But last couple weeks have seen a couple new releases. There haven't been many new releases. There's been a good amount, but in my personal opinion, nothing that I really would tout as great. Except for a couple games. One, of course, being a high-profile title, something that's been advertised for a while, something that's had a lot of exposure in The Witcher 2, ported over from PC to 360. And then, of course, you have the more under-the-radar, but yet so beautifully put together SkullGirls on PSN and Xbox Live. I do want to just go ahead and throw props out to those two games. We'll go ahead and start with SkullGirls. I think that SkullGirls is a game that literally just kind of flew up and just punched me in the face. I'm a fighter fan. I'm a hardcore fighter fan. We started WLG on fighters, so that's obviously, just not a big secret. SkullGirls, we started hearing a lot about it months ago. We started seeing footage of it online. Characters introduced. You've got 8 characters that are very, very original and done very well. My personal 2 being Miss Fortune and Valentine. Most of us actually kind of tout Valentine. She's really good.
I'm a total Cerebella player, man.
Yeah.
And I kick some ass with it too.
Thanks for those big arms, huh?
Yeah. You like those arms, huh?
Yeah. Big strong.
But I think that Mike Z put together a game that a lot of fight game fans have been waiting on. Something that's been very well balanced. Something that is beautiful to watch. A lot of people have actually been kind of conflicted about the art style as to whether or not they like the art style, as to whether or not they don't. Again, I'm going to go on record as to say I think it's one of the most beautifully hand-drawn games that I've seen in a long time, even with the abstract artwork that's done to it.
It flows so nicely.
It does. I think that the graphics actually fit the gameplay. And of course, I want to hear what you guys have to say. I mean, all of us, again, being hardcore fight fans, let's go ahead and let's praise it. Come on.
It's worth it. Every bit.
Totally really is. The only downfall that I see with SkullGirls, and yes, there is a downfall, and the downfall's name is Peacock. Whenever the computer uses Peacock, it sucks. I hate projectile characters. Not all of them, but Peacock is a straight projectile character.
I know you hate my cigar.
What do you mean?
He didn't get his name ViciouslyVicious for nothing,
Right. No, but Peacock,
she's pretty cheap.
She's not. I wouldn't say cheap. Whenever I play somebody else that uses Peacock, I really don't have trouble because they kind of stay away from the whole, spamming the projectiles or whatever. It's the computer side of it all.
You have a lot of highs and lows.
Right.
A lot of highs and lows.
The computer, whenever the computer places Peacock, that's what gets on my nerves. It's kind of like a unwritten rule within fighters. If you spam the crap out of a character's projectile, you pretty much, you're not that good.
It's a noob tactic.
Yeah, it's a noob tactic. It's very.
It's a time waster. You
waste the clock down. They very much let you know in the training too that there's always ways around it of anything that goes on.
Since you mentioned that, I do want to go ahead. You brought up the training mode. SkullGirls has probably one of the most in-depth training modes. I think one of the only other games that I can think of that had such a hardcore training mode was Virtua Fighter 4 on the PS2. But SkullGirls has one of the most helpful. I mean, if you've never played a fighter in your life, and you pick this game up and you go into the tutorial, you'll walk out with at least an average amount of knowledge as to how to play the game. And I think that that's something that they concentrated on way more so than most other companies do. And I think that it turned out great.
Farther, and I think it's really comprehensive. They teach you not only how to move, your tactics and things. They teach you what OTGs are. They teach you what canceling is.
Off the grounds.
And yeah, they teach you things that like if you were to go to a tournament and if you listen to people talk about fighting games, you might not have a clue. Well, they bring it in different chapters. You can go to advanced tactics, to regular tactics, and they'll tell you that this is an OTG. It's a good overhead. They'll describe you the terms and the slang that we use, and we also use and they'll also tell you those types of terms and how to combat them and how to counter them. It's really comprehensive and it's
high blocks,
very
low
good.
blocks.
One thing I do love, and I'll take it even a step further from the another aspect of the training that I really really love. You can switch on and off from seeing the hitboxes.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that because a lot of people, whenever they go into fighting games, they think, "Oh, I'm hitting your character animation, therefore you should get hit." When really, there's only certain parts that actually get hit from your character, and that's one thing that I absolutely love. Because you play people online, you play people, that don't know much, and they rage quit. Oh, I was hitting you. I'm pretty sure I got you, and they don't really understand the dynamics of fighting games. They just think it's you just pick up and play, press a bunch of buttons, and and that's how you fight. When really they go so in depth, and I think SkullGirls just really wants to get that message across that it's not just pick up and play. Like, I mean, you can pick up and play it, but there's more to it. There's more of a strategy behind it than just pick up and play and just try and beat your opponent down.
VD said it best earlier. It's literally a virtual game of chess.
Yeah.
It is. You have to be able to anticipate opponents' moves, and I think that a lot of people aren't. I think that a lot of the we keep throwing on the word mainstream like it's a bad thing, and it's not. But But I think a lot of we'll say casual. I think a lot of casual players, they pick up fighters and they don't understand the logistics behind it. So
well, you can't please all online players though. So
No, you can't.
You can't.
I wish we could, but we can't. I do want to say that I do have one fault for the game, and it's not the fact that it's got a small roster, because I love the fact that there's only 8 characters in the game. Right. I think that, I think Street Fighter Cross Tekken giving you 50 characters by the time their DLC is released is a little bit of overkill. I can see why they're doing it. I'm not bashing Capcom. It's just trying to get everybody's favorites in there. I was kind of PO'd that they had left Blanca out in the first place.
Right.
But, I think that with there only being 8 characters in SkullGirls, that it actually gives you more time to concentrate on that 1 or 2 characters, or the 3 if you want to do your team of 3, that you actually want to play with. One of the things, though, I do have to go ahead and cry foul about is the lack of an in-game moveset. The fact that you can't, and I'll tell you why. Most people are literally probably sitting down going, "Oh." The fact that there isn't a moveset in the game where you can pause your game, you can look up your moveset and see how to do your moves. It doesn't bother me personally. I can sit down in the training room all night and still have just as much fun as if I was playing against you guys or playing online or playing against a computer. I think that it shows a lack of insight in the developer's part. I think that the fact that it was not implemented in the first place just shows an oversight on their part.
Well,
it's something
well,
that
they do have it on the website.
Yeah, I think.
But a lot of people are going to look at that though, and they're going to say, you know what? If I have to go over to the website and download the PDF just to see how to do it, then it's not really worth my time.
Gotcha.
Most people are trying to look at it. A lot of people aren't looking at this from a fact that it was done by an independent studio, and it was just a live / PSN, release. People aren't looking at it as, oh, this isn't a hard disk. They're looking at it as, wait a minute, why can I not pause the game and see the moves that my character's supposed to do? And like I said, again, I'm not complaining on my point. I don't mind that. I enjoy sitting down and figuring out on my own. It reminds me of the old school days in Mortal Kombat when you didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So in order for you to find out your fatalities, you either had to learn it yourself, or you had to go down to the arcade and watch a guy do it and say, dude, how'd you do that? And hope that he was nice enough to give his secret to you, as opposed to just looking at you and say, figure it out and walking away.
Right.
I think that in just today's games, this day and age of gaming, that's something that literally should be implemented in every game, regardless of what people think about it. But honestly, like I said, that's my only complaint about the game so far. So I don't think that's anything that's worth, docking points off the game or anything like that. If we did reviews, I would totally give it a 9 out of 10.
I would give it a 10 out of 10, to be completely honest with you. Just because of the fact that I understand, that you can't go in there and watch your moves or whatever. They were crunching for time, from what I read. They were crunching for time, and they had to leave some certain things out. Those certain things, which it's not like they can't put it back in through free DLC or anything like that. That's why I don't really dock at any points. But I like I said, I honestly would give it a 10 out of 10. But the only thing that I have a complaint over is, like I said previously, is Peacock, whenever the computer uses Peacock, because it pisses me off, really. It really pisses me off.
Well,
if you look at it too, they do a lot of fan service for tournament gamers and all this stuff. They have the IPS system where you can't just spam the same loop over and over again. You get a chance to actually hit them back and retaliate, so you're not in this infinite loop where you just get one hit, or one person can get just one hit and you're dead. Exactly.
Just a strange one.
People spamming on Marvel's Capcom doing their loops and stuff.
I'm joking. I love you, dude.
They can counter that. Now you can get out of it, and you can't rely on just knowing one move set and just doing it over and over again.
Right.
I love that. I love that you can have 10 different color palettes. I know that's a small thing to say, but having different uniforms and everything, it just adds a lot to it.
No, it does.
It gives
I agree.
it gives you. It makes
you have more. You can unlock more.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, so
and
it's
then
more than 10.
You have to use the Capcom. Capcom code at the. I thought that was great. I thought that was a great throwback. What else is there? They have the infinite.
I like the fact that every character doesn't feel identical, or
no, they all have
it
their own
doesn't
style.
feel like a
They have their own
reskin.
style,
Like they have their own style fighting. They have and they kind of just play a part of. You just don't feel like you're playing.
Well, that goes back to the low character count in the game. Again, when you have a high count of characters, a la Street Fighter, where you have 30 some odd characters to choose from, you're bound to run into where characters feel similar. Of course, you've got Ken, you've got Ryu, you've got Sagat, and you've got Akuma, who pretty much have all the same movesets.
Pretty much.
Okay. In a game like SkullGirls, because you have such a low character count, you don't run into that issue, and that brings that sense of uniqueness to each and every female that's in the game, and I think that's something that's really good. Short story mode, But again, you only have a limited amount of characters for it.
Right.
That's where I'm docking my points.
And really, the game was $15.
Yeah,
it's
seriously.
not that bad.
It's an online
guys,
game.
I'm not saying I dislike it. I love the game. I've been
Oh,
touting it for the past.
No, we didn't say that either.
I'm just saying that, you know, the reason I'm not going to give it, I'm not going to give it.
People shouldn't give it a bad rep.
I'm not giving it a bad rep, but I'm just saying the things that I found to be unsatisfying on my end. And what's unsatisfying on my end is the fact that the move set was not included because, again, not because I need it. I don't. But because I just think that it's something that you should implement regardless, because you have people who would want it, and honestly, that is a game breaker in some people's eyes.
Yeah,
if you
definitely.
if you weren't, you know, attentive enough to put that in, whether you're in at a time or whatnot, then it's something that people look at. And then, of course, the short story, you know, mode. I think that the story mode was implemented very well, the way it was done, the way the characters go back and forth, the way that all of the endings in the game are intertwined with one another, Misfortune and Cerebellum, for example. You know, I just love the way that they played off of one another. But again, it was very, very short, and it wasn't. It just didn't feel accomplished at the end. You know, as far as going through your 4 fights and then, of course, hitting your ending. So that's just my thing. Of course, at one point they rehashed Valentine when I played through Misfortune. She was probably my second fight, and then, of course, she was my last fight, right? In addition to Double. So, you know, I think that's something that maybe they could have done a little bit better. But all in all, I couldn't have made a better game. I couldn't have done a better job. So I'm just going to say that I love the game, and I'm going to tout it.
I think the consensus here is, if you're a fighting game fan, this should be in your library.
Definitely, it should be on the top of your library.
Yeah. I would love to pay $30. I'd pay $30 for this game, but if you can get a 15, that's a steal.
Or 1,200 Microsoft points.
Right, and I think that it's worth. If you're a fighting game fan, you should have this in your library, and you should be playing this.
Okay, let's move on. Witcher 2.
Witcher 2.
I'm just going to go on and say that I've been psyched for Witcher 2 since it was announced that it was going to be ported to 360. I'm not a PC gamer. I don't have anything against PC games. I know a lot of people claim that the PC gaming scene is the new hardcore scene in gaming. Hey, if that's your you know, cup of tea, that's fine. Personally, I'm not a PC gamer. I'd rather pick up a controller and go to town on a console. Witcher 2 ported over to 360 this past week, past Tuesday to be exact, and you know, I've got to say that I am so impressed with this game. I think that the game is absolutely beautifully done. I think that the story is extremely mature and compelling. I think that the gameplay of the game is just fantastic. It's a little tough at first. It's, you know, if you're not used to that type of system or you're not used to the type of game. I mean, bottom line is it caters to the hardcore RPG player. You know, it's, again, I mentioned that it's very mature. The game is very mature. There is nudity, there is foul language, there is, you know, extreme use of blood and violence, but it's not done in that, holy crap, it's the hot coffee code from, you know, Grand Theft Auto sort of way. It's done more so in a very classy, storytelling kind of way. You know, the fact that the game starts off with flashbacks for those who aren't familiar with the actual Witcher story of Geralt, moving into the actual story itself, from the point when he breaks free, from whatever it is he's supposed to be doing. Spoiler alert, non-spoiler alert. I think that the voice work was done really well in this game. I think it's, if you've ever played Fable and the way that they talked with those thick, old-school British accents, that's Witcher 2 with a lot of F-bombs in it, though.
Awesome.
A lot of references to your genitalia, and let's be honest, as an adolescent guy, let's just say you've made a lot of references to your genitalia in the first place, so it's not going to bother you. And of course, like I said, there is plenty of eye candy in there if you enjoy that type of thing. Me personally, I do. What can I say? I'm a degenerate. I think that the game is just very well done. I think that it was put together very well. I love the battle system. It's very fast and it's very clean and it's very easy once you get to you get used to those menus and you get used to setting your runes or setting your quick attacks as far as what's in your pockets, your daggers, your bombs, your traps and such. I honestly think that it was a great port. I think that it held up very well as far as aesthetically, moving from the PC to the 360. Of course, you're not going to have those high-end PC graphics when you're porting a game over to the console from the PC.
I honestly think just watching gameplay on YouTube and all that stuff, just following the game, I think it looks really good. And I was really impressed by it, to be completely honest about it. I was entirely overwhelmed of how everything kind of fleshed out and how the gameplay was. whenever
Could you
I first
explain to
saw
me
it.
how the battle system works? Is it like turn-based, or is it
No,
more
it's
like
it's
Skyrim?
live action, and no, it's live action. I would say more so Gears of War.
Oh, okay.
But it's a little more complicated than not Gears of War. I'm sorry. Like I said, a few glasses in. God of War. I would say it's more so it's free, kind of like God of War. You know, you have your options. You have heavy attacks and you have light attacks. Of course, your light attacks are faster than the heavy. The heavy are slower but do more damage. But you can combo them into one another. You also have your runes, which is your magic, which you go ahead and have to set for a quick button. So if you're familiar with Skyrim, for example, you can go ahead and set a spell one side and your attack on the other. It's pretty similar in Witcher. You go ahead and set which rune you want to use, whether it be a fire rune or whatever your spell is that you want to use, and then you just go ahead and you use that spell. And then if you want to change your spell, you have to actually pause the game using the left bumper on the 360 controller to open up your radio menu.
Awesome.
In order to rest, in order to use alchemy, in order to do any type of potion usage or level your character up, you would of course bring up that same radio menu and go into a meditate mode, which you cannot do when their enemies are near. So it's pretty menu driven. It's not as bad as say Dragon Age,
Right.
when you had dictionaries and menus.
Right.
Again, not a shot at the game. Dragon Age was a beautifully done game. Now we'll take a shot at Dragon Age 2, BioWare, if you want me to, but we won't take a shot at 1. But I think that again, that's something that PC players are used to, as far as the role-playing games go, and a lot of us hardcore role-playing game fans on consoles are used to. But I think that a lot of casual players, it's going to turn them off from the game. There's a huge amount of content. The decisions you make in the game, they literally make you feel like you're actually affecting the game. Sometimes you'll make a decision in the game, whether it's just a retort to someone's question or whether it's the option to fight and not fight someone, and you'll think back afterwards and say, holy crap, maybe I should reload it and do it again. But of course, eventually, hopefully, you'll man up and say, you know what, I live with my decisions and just move on.
Well,
Either way.
if you love the game so much, why don't you marry it? No, I mean, is there anything about it that you just thought could have been a little bit better, or a little bit worked on, or anything like that?
I think your map, as far as up in the top right corner, you have a map that shows your next designated mission. I think that could have been done a lot better. I think that regardless of your high-def TV, regardless of the size, whether you're running on a 19 or whether you're running on a 50, it's a little tough to see. It doesn't really map out an area for you. And again, most hardcore fans like myself don't mind that because it makes you choose your own route, find where you're supposed to go. A lot of casual fans who might be trying to get into the genre because they heard a lot about the game, thought it was a really good game, it might turn them off, and then they're going to feel like they were ripped off, $60. I think they could have done pretty well, or done a little bit better on that. I think that, again, as I said, it's a beautiful game as far as a console game goes, but at the same time, I think that there are little hiccups in the graphics here and there that you actually see through your gameplay, and you realize at that point that that was something that was lost in translation from the PC to the 360 port. So, it's not a perfect game. But then again, let's be honest, Skyrim.
There isn't many.
There isn't. I was going to say
Skyrim
Skyrim is my
faults.
choice of game of the year last year, but by God, it was probably the buggiest game I've ever played.
Right.
And that's not a shot at the
Backwards
game, like I
flying
said.
dragons.
Yeah, again, it was my choice of game of the year last year, hands down.
Yeah.
Shortly followed by Arkham City, but it had its share of bugs.
It was actually. That year flew by fast.
It did fly by
We had a
fast.
lot of fun with that game.
Yeah, that's why I asked about the battle system, because I love Skyrim. It was great. It was fun being a ranged player and playing as an archmage. I had a great time. The only thing I didn't like is because when you became a brute, it's just I didn't like the battle system for the hand-to-hand stuff because it was just the same one animation just whacking somebody and then.
Well, I think with Skyrim,
until
what they were
die.
trying to accomplish more so was a story-driven game as opposed to a
Yeah.
battle-driven. I think that the freedom you had with the battle system in Skyrim was just the icing on the cake, because when you have a game as huge as Skyrim, when you have a game that is the story is so vast, you have so many options, you have so many missions, you have just the freedom to do practically whatever you want in a game. You're bound to run into something that's a shortcoming. But when you take that in comparison to what the game is excelling in, of course, which is everything else,
Right.
then you just kind of have to choose what's more important, that one fault that you find. And I think that Skyrim really is I think what helped Skyrim the most, as if it really needed help, was the build up and the hype. I mean, when that trailer was released for it, and they had that I think it was at PAX last year.
Yeah.
It was where they had that 40-minute video showing off, just the detail they put into the game. I mean, I've heard stories about people crying when they released footage of Zelda back in E3, but I don't think people cried when they saw Skyrim. I think they went out. I think they grabbed the closest piece of red meat they could, and I think they started beating it with a hammer in preparation for this game. So, Other notable releases, or new releases rather, this past week, you had Disgaea releasing on Vita, if you're a strat game fan. You had Persona 3 releasing on the PSN. I'm a huge Persona fan. Really glad it was released. I'm able to, I got it on my hard drive now, and I'm, a few hours into that as well. On that, I'll go ahead and tout another game that's coming out. Persona 4, it's coming out in the next couple months. Arena, fighting game, going to be really good. So it was a pretty decent week for new releases. There weren't a lot of new releases, but at the same time, I think that's kind of what helps a lot of these gems stand out. Witcher 2, SkullGirls. They didn't have all the competition to be overshadowed by. People see them, they get interested, they download demos, they do their homework, they see that these games are actually worth the effort, and they put it in. So, I guess with that, we're just going to move on to a few things that personally we're going to cover with WLG before we close this thing up. Again, this was our first podcast. It might have ran a little long. If you listened to the whole thing, we thank you. If you didn't and you just skipped through, we still thank you for giving it a shot anyway, because it still racks up on our listen count. So, thanks for contributing to the numbers, because, again, it's all about numbers. We do have some changes in our lineup going. Of course, Justice Strange 1, who's been here since day one, he has gone and moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. He going back to Cali. There's my my cheap white boy rap reference. So he's still with us in spirit. He's still with us in any type of activity that he can contribute. But again, physically, he's not with us anymore. Want to wish him the best of luck over there on the West Coast, rather. We went ahead and we went back into our last few tournaments that we had. We looked up one of our normal players, dude. It's VD. So go ahead and say hi again.
Hey, it's me again.
Should have went ahead and made that intro at the beginning. He's gone ahead and joined us. He's going to be helping us out with the site, helping us out with everything we're doing, podcasts and such, and he's basically the newest member of WLG. So I think we're pretty excited about that. Sugar Tank joined us about a month and a half ago. We never gave him the proper shout-out for joining us. Yeah. So Sugar Tank, thanks for joining up. We're expecting a lot of good things from him down the road, and not just his quirky one-liners. And don't worry, that time that you touched my butt, I'll still tell everybody that it was an accident. And I guess now, to close up, I just want to ask you guys, at this moment in time, when we're done with this, and you go back to your systems, your stations, and you turn them on, what game are you going to play, Vicious?
I'm still depleting planets on Mass Effect 2. I love taking minerals.
We're gonna leave that one alone. VD, what you playing on?
Oh man, I've been getting on SkullGirls. I just got it. I only put 2 or 3 hours into it, but from what I've played and the matches I played against Justice, I can't wait to get back into the lab, start practicing again. If anybody wants to play, it's my gamer tag, dude. It's VD.
That's DOOD.
DOOD space yeah, DOOD space ITS space VD. Just look me up, and I'm always welcome to throw some syringes in your face.
Wow, Dr. Giggles over there. Moonlight?
Pretty much right now, the only things I'm really just kind of playing, and it's mostly just with personal friends and family and stuff like that, is being number one, being my sister. I'm pretty much doing Killzone 3 on my own online. And I know that's like, ooh, Killzone 3, because that's, not the FPS that everybody likes.
I really like Killzone 3.
Same thing.
I never said that I disliked Killzone 3. I just said it couldn't hold a candle to Halo. Sorry, Killzone fans. Let Hypervega receive the hate mail now.
No, I hope to get some more of the, to open up all the extra packs. I only have the Steel Rain pack that came when it first came out. And not Killzone 3, and then, of course, I'm on DC Universe Online all the time, so... I'm usually doing that, both, hero and villain.
Wait, did you say DCUO?
Yeah, DCUO.
Nah, dude, I have seen him play on. I'm like, dude, how? No.
I lost 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months of my life in that game. I loved it, and then it just broke. I've never... Oh, gosh. Warner Brothers, DC, I love you guys, man, but you so let me down on that.
Isn't it free to play now?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Up to level 30.
Up to level 30, and then after that...
It takes forever to download, though. That's the...
Dude, yeah, you're looking at about...
That's the
18 gigs.
Yeah, 2 weeks to download.
Cow.
And I mean, you know what? Let's be honest. I know we said we're going to end this, but I do have to throw my 2 cents in on that. DCUO accomplished something that no MMO has done. The freedom of your fight system in that game was just absolutely amazing. Whether you played an acrobatic character and you were hopping from building to building, or whether you were, flying over buildings or speed running like the Flash, you actually felt like a superhero in that game. And I will give it credit for that.
Yeah,
I do. I think the game was implemented really well as far as the ideas they had and what they put into the game. I just think that they just The servers couldn't keep up. The game went through that small time when it was crashing. I think I had to hard reset my PS3 maybe 4 or 5 times a night in a session, and that's only for about 2-3 hours. You know, you would lose data, not lose data rather, but you would just lose time, and just morale would just go down. I mean, you know, but you know what? I've heard, I haven't played it in a long time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna front like I did. I've heard they've, you know, they fixed a lot of those issues.
They have fixed a lot of the issues.
Good luck to Warner Brothers. Good luck DCUO. I hope you guys, you know, have a great future. You'll be having it without me.
Well, they still got Arkham City. DC still has Arkham City, which I thought what was my game of the year. Game of the year
runner-up in my opinion.
Yeah, that was a great game. I did get to play that one. So
it was the one Batman that I felt like I was Batman, and I can take on these 20 guys and whoop their butt.
Yeah, well, I think they did great. And the first time that shark jumped up and ate me in the museum,
yeah, that was a scare.
I jumped. I did. Good. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and after that, I was intentionally eaten by that shark about 5 times. Just
There's nothing better than the Mr. Freeze boss battle.
That was very well done.
Best boss battle of all time.
Yeah.
I think.
You know what would be awesome though? What if Batman turned out to be Commander Shepard? Right, would that
Dude,
became Master Chief,
and then became Master Chief. He took off the helmet, and had on the cowl. Then he took off the cowl, and he was oh man,
became an astronaut.
I know. I'm saying.
Right. Because I mean, he definitely has.
Do you get an achievement for taking off your helmet and then your cowl? You know, it's like unmasked.
Yeah, the trophy will say, "Now you know the truth."
Exactly. Now you know where your ending went.
Yeah.
You know, I can give the throwback if you want, and
the trophy would be like WTF, BBQ.
Yeah, I can give the really corny joke and say, you know I was playing Mass Effect 3 and getting an ending until my ending took an arrow to the knees. To our Skyrim references. But you know that was pretty cheesy. You guys can laugh at me for that. I think right now. Honestly, SkullGirls and Witcher 2. You know, I've got to get through those. You know, last couple weeks, I went ahead and topped off a little over 100 hours in Skyrim. I finally finished the main quest. I was putting that off till last. I went ahead and did all guild missions and stuff like that first. Finished that out. I finished out Halo Anniversary Edition finally.
Awesome.
I still have a couple terminals I got to find, but I've got the majority of them, about 85% of them. Great remake. I think 343 did a really good job there, and I'm very happy for that. I finished out Mass Effect 3, of course, you know, just to tout, you know, see what was up with that ending. You know, basically cleared my palette for SkullGirls to get my time in with that, so I can, you know, wreck you guys once we're done with this podcast again. And of course, you know, all day tomorrow I'll be playing Witcher 2, you know, outside of earshot of the children. So speaking of children, my 13-year-old son, Bloodsucker XXXX, has been sitting in here listening to us. I don't know how great of a role model that makes me, but you want to go ahead and say hi? Go ahead and say hi.
Hey, how's it going?
So, yeah, he's sat in here, and he's also a little gamer. I'm telling you, that boy can actually get a higher kill rate in Halo than I can, so he's a prodigy, so, yeah, you know, good job. So I guess that's really all we got.
Right there.
That's great parenting, man. Come on.
Let's go ahead and tell our viewers, if you guys want us to talk
viewers?
about anything,
No,
not viewers, listeners.
Well, listeners, yeah.
Right, viewers, if we can actually get some video going on. But
hey.
No, but go ahead. We have the the forums on the page, WinLossGaming.com. Go ahead, if you guys want us to talk about anything specific, go ahead and tell us on there, or just become friends with us on the site. I mean, just tell us through message or whatever.
Most of our announcements we're going to actually make through forums. You know, we want to hear feedback. We want to know what kind of games you guys want to see at our future events, future tournaments.
Definitely.
You know, at IGE, if there's something that you want featured, go on those forums. Let us know. Send us an email. You know, WinLossGaming@gmail. No, we don't have a site email because I think that's just way too professional. Let's be honest, we're not professional. You can look us up on you know, PSN, Hypervega on PSN, Moonlight Devil 24.
We're on PSN.
Yeah, you've got ViciouslyVicious. Of course, you can look us up on Xbox 360. You know, WLG Hypervega, Dude It's VD. You know, and Just a Strange 1. You know, you got just many ways that you could contact us. You know, for anything that you want to know, and we do the best that we can to answer everything, even if it's spam mail, even if you just want to tell us you hate our faces, or you want to be angry at us because you think that we kind of, you know, bashed Call of Duty tonight. You know, whatever you want to do, just go ahead and let us know, and, you know, we'll take it with a grain of salt, and,
let
you know,
your
we'll reply
voice
as
be
best we can.
heard.
Yeah, that too.
We're always all ears. We're always receptive to any criticism or any suggestions. So just come on there, meet up with us, and just Let's hash it out.
And we promise the next podcast will actually be shorter.
Yeah,
you know, we're sitting at 59 minutes and 26 seconds right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but, you know, less rambling, more straight to the point, and then you guys can go back to doing whatever it is you do this time of night.
But, of course, you know, shameless plug, of course, Facebook.com/WinLossGaming.
Yeah, we're on there.
As far as if you want the simplified version of our website and not want to go to the website, which I don't know why you wouldn't.
No, we want you to go to the website.
Yeah, we want you to go to the website, but in case, you know,
we want you on the website.
In case, you know, Facebook has run your, you know,
WinLossGaming.com.
WinLossGaming.com.
WinLossGaming. Yeah, we want your grandma to go to the website too. Like, send grandma. If she's a gamer, send her. Vicious
or
loves
just go to the
grandmas.
library and open it up on all the computers in there.
Yeah,
help
and then
us
just
out,
walk
help
away.
us spread the word out too.
Yeah,
There
go to your
you
local
go.
internet cafe and open it up on everyone. WinLossGaming.com. So, I mean, you know, we would appreciate that. And, yeah, do that.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you know, we don't have the funds like G4. We've got more funds like Tupac before he was famous.
And
Don't worry.
And
we
what did you
won't be
say?
showing cops.
And what did you say,
24/7
Vicious? And what did you say, Vicious, about, you know, IGN?
IGE?
No, IGN.
Oh, well, taking shots at IGN, you can't spell ignorance without IGN. So with that in mind.
And they've got production values about 10,000 times better than ours. But we've got a more handsome crew.
Right.
I think. Maybe. Quite possibly.
Except me.
I agree.
I
think we're done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, hands off my tissue.
Unpause that so I can keep throwing syringes in your face.
Yeah, we're done.